Hello and welcome. So, are you back in the freelance game after some time off? Or maybe that rental property is finally starting to earn you some money? If that sounds like you might need to reactivate your self-assessment with HMRC. Now, I know, it's a process that trips up thousands of people, but don't worry. Today, with this guide from the experts at ProTax Accountant, we're going to make it super simple. That's right, the team at ProTax Accountant deals with this exact situation day in, day out. So this whole guide is built on their real-world, practical experience to help you sidestep all the common mistakes and get back on track completely stress-free. So let's get right to it. Has something changed in your financial life? Maybe you've dusted off the laptop and restarted your freelance business, or you've started renting out a property. Perhaps your income has just crept over one of those key thresholds. If you've been out of the tax return system for a tax year or more, you absolutely need to let HMRC know that you're back in business. So here's our plan for today. We're going to cover exactly why you need to reactivate. Then we'll walk through the step-by-step process. We'll also point out some common pitfalls to avoid, and then talk about what happens next. Ready? Let's get started. First things first, are you actually back in the tax game? This is a really important distinction. Reactivation isn't for people who are filing for the very first time. No, this is specifically for those of you who filed before, stopped for at least one tax year, and now need to start up again. Think of it like switching your tax account back on, not creating a brand new one. So who exactly does this apply to? Well, let's take a look. Maybe you're like Alex, a freelance developer in London who's just gone back to contracting after a couple of years in a permanent job. If his freelance income goes over the £1,000 trading allowance, boom, he has to reactivate. Same story if you've got rental income over £2,500, or if your total income suddenly jumps over 100 grand. Or another common one, if you're claiming child benefit but your income's now over that threshold. Basically, any untaxed income over £1,000 means it's time to give HMRC a call. Okay, so you know if you need to reactivate. Now, let's dig into why it's so incredibly important. And trust me, this isn't just about paperwork. Ignoring this can have some pretty serious financial consequences, so you'll want to pay close attention to this next part. Right. Get your calendar out and circle this date, the 5th of October 2026. This is huge. For any untaxed income you earned in the 2025 to 26 tax year, that's the one that ends on the 5th of April 2026, you must have told HMRC by this deadline. It's totally non-negotiable, and missing it is what kicks off a whole chain of nasty penalties. And as you can see, those penalties get expensive, and they get expensive fast. It all starts with an initial £100 penalty for late filing, but the real sting comes from the failure to notify penalty. This can be up to 30% of the tax you actually owe. So on a £2,000 tax bill, that's an extra $600 you have to find. On top of all that, HMRC charges interest on any unpaid tax. Right now, it's at 7.75%. It all adds up pretty quickly. Now, this is a massive pro tip, a real insider secret. You might be thinking, hey, I've still got my old UTR number, my unique taxpayer reference, so I'll just send in a return. Well, that's called a voluntary return, and it is a trap. Tax experts will tell you that because your account is basically asleep in HMRC's system, sending in a return like this can get it stuck in limbo, and that can cause huge delays in getting your tax sorted, and more importantly, getting any refund you might be owed. Okay. Enough of the warnings. Let's get to the good stuff, the solution. This is your step-by-step roadmap to getting reactivated. And the great news is, if you just follow these steps, the whole process is actually pretty straightforward and stress-free. So, the very first step, and honestly where a lot of people go wrong, is picking the right form. It's actually quite simple when you break it down. If you're restarting as a sole trader, you need Form CWF1. You can think of CWF as commencing work as a freelancer. That one handles both your tax and your national insurance. For pretty much all other types of income, like from property or investments, you'll need Form SA1. That just registers you for tax. Getting this right at the start is absolutely essential. Right, the next common hurdle, finding your old unique taxpayer reference, your UTR. First off, don't panic, this happens all the time. Here's your action plan, in order. First, log into your government gateway account and have a look there. If it's not obvious, try HMRC's online UTR Finder tool. Still no luck? Time to dig out any of those old letters or tax returns from HMRC. And if all else fails, your final option is to call the self-assessment helpline. Just maybe make a cup of tea before you dial. So, how long is all this going to take? Well, applying online is definitely the fastest way. You'll usually get your UTR confirmation within 10 to 15 working days. If you go the postal route, it takes a bit longer, more like 2 to 4 weeks. The key takeaway here, and the best advice from ProTax Accountant, is to get started early.
Seriously, aim to have this all sorted by mid-September. That way you avoid that mad rush in October when HMRC gets completely swamped.
We've covered the how-to, so now let's flip it and look at the how not to. Avoiding these common mistakes is really the secret to a smooth reactivation. And stay with me because this first point is where most people get it wrong. We have mentioned this before, but it's so important it's worth saying again. Do not just submit a voluntary return. That means filing a tax return before HMRC has officially sent you a notice to file. It's a really bad idea. Because your account is dormant, the return just gets stuck in the system. So the golden rule is reactivate first, get the confirmation, then you file your return. Okay, here's another fantastic pro tip that could save you a massive headache. If you can't for the life of you find your 12-digit government gateway ID, hold off on calling HMRC just yet. First, open your email and search your inbox, and don't forget the spam folder for government gateway. I'd bet you the confirmation email from when you first signed up is hiding in there somewhere with your user ID right in it. So you did it. You've successfully reactivated your account. Awesome, but the work isn't quite over. Let's talk about life after reactivation. This is all about setting up good habits from day one so that tax season is a breeze every year, not a battle. Being back in the system means you have some ongoing responsibilities, and it's so important to be ready for them. Now for something that catches so many people completely by surprise, payments on account. What are they? Well, if your tax bill is over £1,000, HMRC makes you pay your next year's tax in advance. You have to make 2 payments, one in January and another in July, and each one covers 50% of your previous year's bill. It is absolutely crucial to budget for this because it can be a real financial shock if you're not expecting it. Just think of it as prepaying your tax and make sure you're putting that money aside as you earn. All right, now for the fun part, how to lower your tax bill. This is all about tracking your expenses diligently. As you can see, there's a lot you can claim for. Things like using your home as an office, business travel at 45p per mile, essential equipment like a new laptop or software, and even professional fees. Yes, including your accountant's bill. The absolute secret here is keeping good records. Use an app, a spreadsheet, whatever works for you, but you have to capture every single receipt. Remember, every pound you claim in expenses is a pound you don't pay tax on. So let's bring all of this together. We've covered the why, the how, and the what's next when it comes to reactivating your self-assessment. Now let's talk about your best possible next step to make sure you get this 100% right. Look, let's be honest, this can all feel a bit daunting. Between the different forms, the deadlines, the risk of penalties, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. For a truly smooth and stress-free return to self-assessment, the smartest path forward is to speak with an expert. The team at ProTax Accountant can literally manage the whole thing for you, from finding your UTR right through to your final submission. Getting started is easy. You can call or WhatsApp them on 07985 689912, or you can drop them an email at info@protaxaccountant.co.uk. For even more detail on what we've talked about today, check out their full blog post on the topic. And of course, make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel for more helpful guides just like this one. And just a final, very important note, this guide is for general information. It shouldn't be used on its own to make financial decisions because everyone's tax situation is unique. We always recommend that you consult with a qualified expert, like the fantastic team at ProTax Accountant, before you take any action. Thanks so much for watching.